on Saturday, it was World Squash Day. So we thought we'd spend a few moments here on Play Up focusing on a sport which is incredibly popular across Coventry and Warwickshire, and one in which we have a real pedigree to shout about in the form of Sarah Jane Perry, who is an absolute legend of the sport, Commonwealth silver medalist in the 2018 Commonwealth Games, and has represented Great Britain and England over the years, and as a graduate of Warwick University, as it happened, and from Kenilworth. I'm delighted to say that Sarah Jane is here with us on the programme this evening. Sarah Jane, good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for getting involved with the hype around World Squash Day.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. And Sarah Jane, I have another lady on who is also a huge fan of the sport and is just a remarkable woman in her own right as well. Alison Inslee. Hi, Alison.
Hi, Lorna. Hi, SJ.
How are you, Alison?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you.
Thank you.
Really well.
Pleased.
And again, I repeat, thanks for putting us on and sharing the passion of squash.
Well, listen, I want to find out a bit about it. Now, Sarah Jane and I met a long time ago at Sports Awards, and I was really struck by how passionate you were. Let's get to this straight away about the fact that squash is not an Olympic sport. This was many years ago that you were talking about this. I still find it remarkable that it isn't. Sarah Jane, what's going on?
I know. In short, we keep trying, but I think we've either not had the right leadership in place at the World Squash Federation, or we've just fallen short, or we've had the hurdles moved and things like that. And I think, unfortunately, from the most recent additions to the Olympics and for the future ones, I think they're taking a slightly different direction into a more a different path, I think, than the traditional ones. I think skateboarding and surfing coming in, and then I think the next one tipped to go in is breakdancing, which is obviously a million miles away from the original Olympic tradition. So we've tried to build the sport and make the sport great in its own right, which it is, and the tour and stuff's grown massively, particularly over the last 5 years, since we merged the men's and women's tours and associations together, and everything. So I think it's one of the most self-sufficient sports out there. It doesn't rely on the Olympics and the money that comes with that, or funding for the countries through that. So I think it's one of those bittersweet things where people assume that it's in the Olympics until you tell them. But from a player's perspective, it's frustrating. But we have the Commonwealth Games, like you mentioned, and we have a pretty awesome tour in our own right too.
It must be so frustrating for you as an elite athlete, world number 5, I think you are at the moment, to not have that kind of, it's the Olympic Games. However, the Commonwealth Games are coming round, fingers crossed, fairly soon in Birmingham. Are you turning your attention to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was originally born in Birmingham as well, so I claim not residence, but heritage for it to be very, very much a home game for me.
Yeah.
And obviously very close down the road too. But I think everything between now and then, that's the sort of going to be the main focus, really. I'm getting a bit involved personally as well. I'm on the athlete advisory committee for the games to make sure that everything is as athlete centric as possible, and it's the best experience for the athletes, because that's at the end of the day, it's all about getting them to perform, and hopefully we can. My ultimate goal is that I can come away from that with a gold medal, and instead of the silver one like last time.
We'll keep everything crossed for you. And in terms of sort of profile for you, how you've got the Commonwealth Games coming up, and we've discussed the Olympics and the lack of squash being in there. So how important for the sport is the Commonwealth Games?
Yeah, it's a really great platform for the sport. I think it's one of those where you get coverage, a bit of coverage on the BBC and things like that on the TV that you don't normally get. We do have TV coverage of all of our big events now, but it's either, it's on subscription services, or even on, TV subscription services. Like we have our semis and finals are all on BT Sport. So it's great to have that profile just on the free to air channels as well. So I think that's one of the main things, and it's seen as such a major game also, that it's gives the sport that kudos as well, and then people want to go watch after they've seen it, and they have a look at our tour and see at some of the spectacular places we do get to play, and showcase many cities around the world and locate crazy locations. There's literally a glass court next to the pyramids at the moment where they're competing, right where we've been competing right now. So
no way.
Not many sports that can show that. So if anyone wants to see that, just give that a Google. It's pretty spectacular. I don't think many people can claim to have done their profession and be able to see the pyramids whilst doing it.
I think, I know you're a professional athlete, but I'd find that very distracting. I think I'd be just sort of gazing over, going, oh, no, it's the pyramids. Hang on, focus. That's the difference between a professional athlete and somebody who's easily distracted by the sight of pyramids. Alison, you're super passionate about sport as well. You are so busy. I had so many notifications on my Twitter feed from you. It's like, it's World Squash Day. I'm really, really busy. Look what I'm doing. What were you up to?
Originally, I wasn't going to do anything because of all the restrictions, because the club I normally play at has shut down. I had 9 squash courts there. So I was going to Wales with my friend for her birthday. It's her birthday today, so a quick shout out to Kate. Happy birthday, Kate.
Happy birthday, Kate.
And then in the end, because of all the restrictions, we decided her friends weren't going and she's gone on her own with her dogs. And so because I was here, I thought, well, you know what, last minute, I'll just run an event with 2 squash courts. That's better than nothing. So normally I have 5, 6, 7 courts. I've got 30, 40 people, juniors, adults, men, women, a lot. Well, I was restricted to 6 people. So I managed to do 2 sections. I had 2 children and their father. Then I had 6 of us afterwards. So I managed to get 9 people involved on World Squash Day. It was over about 3 hours. We had a lot of fun. It wasn't what I would normally have done on World Squash Day. It would have been a much bigger event to try and promote the game. It's just celebrating the return of squash, after 5 to 7 months off for some people. But at least I did run something, and the theme behind World Squash Day this year was everyone had to share their story about why they love squash. So I got all my participants to fill out a bit of paper to say why they love squash and why they came along. So it was great, and I really enjoyed sharing them stories about why people want to play squash, because everyone has their own reasons. Some of it is about fitness, but you'll be surprised how much isn't about fitness. Yeah. It's about the fun side, the social side, the friendship that comes out of squash. So yeah, I thought I had a fantastic weekend. Well, to be honest.
Good. I am pleased you did. Stay there. We'll take a break. We'll have a bit of music, and then I want to come back and talk to you both a bit about the return to squash and indeed the reasons why you both love squash. And if you enjoy playing the sport across Coventry and Warwickshire and you want to join in the conversation, then pick up the phone, give me a call. It's 0800 75 65 200. We'll be back with Sarah Jane Perry and Alison Inslee in a moment. Midnight Sky, the new one from Miley Cyrus, playing on BBC CWR. It's all about it's play up your sport and your sporting passions all the way through until 10 o'clock. And we're joined this evening to discuss the sport of squash by Sarah Jane Perry, Commonwealth silver medalist, and Alison Inslee, who's involved in. Alison, is it Warwick Boat Club you're normally at?
That's correct, yes. I've been playing for the team there for about 12 years, so I've started to do a bit of coaching there now.
I mean, that's a lovely club, Warwick Boat Club.
That's super. Beautiful. It just overlooks Warwick Castle. It's obviously you can't see that when you're on the squash courts, but the guys that are rowing and the bowling and the tennis players can just see Warwick Castle. So it's a fantastic setting.
It's not the pyramids, though, is it, Alison? To be honest, it's not quite the same as what's
Egypt, Warwick, close. No,
it's not bad. It's not bad. Okay, so Sarah Jane, how did you first fall in love with and find the sport of squash?
A long time ago now. When I was really, really small, probably about 5, I think. I used to live over in Sutton Coldfield, and my dad played tennis at one local club, badminton at one local club, and squash at one local club. So when we were about 5, he started taking us to the tennis club that he was at to do a tennis, but then he also used to take us down to the junior coaching at Four Oaks Squash Club, which is a really small little members club in the middle of the Four Oaks estate in Sutton Coldfield. And it's it's still there. It's still very similar to how it was then. And we just started going more and more. And then when we moved to Kenilworth when I was 8, we joined the Kenilworth Tennis and Squash Club here, and just started playing more and more. Me and my brother used to go on our bikes in the holidays, every day, and spend most of the day there playing tennis, playing squash, arguing with each other a lot. And then I think I started playing tournaments when I was about 11 or so, and that's when I really, I think, fell in love with the kind of it's a very mental sport as well as physical, and you can nullify someone's physicality with some skill, but you can also overcome some skill with physicality. So it's it's been called chess on legs. I think my brain is like I'm a sort of problem solver. So I think that really just lends itself to squash, and we have so many different physiques and styles of play that I think it makes for such an interesting sport, particularly in the women's game at the moment. There's so many different styles and things like that. It's just fantastic to watch, but also fantastic to play, and the challenge is immeasurable a lot of the time.
And how does it feel for you to be back competing?
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. We had our first tournament back about a month ago now in Manchester. It's extremely different. If anyone's been following like the cricket in sort of bubble system is what we've been having to do. So having to have tests before, tests when you get there, tests after every 4 days, I think it is. And it's very different. No crowds. They've had crowds in Egypt when I've been out there the last couple of weeks, but it's outdoors and we can't go near the crowd and the crowd can't come near us. And it's very different. But I think just I missed the challenge and just the adrenaline of playing and that. So I don't think we've got another event now for a couple of months after this one. So that makes me a bit sad. So I might have to. I'll be challenging. We've got a little England squash challenge going on at the moment, started on World Squash Day with two of our players that have recently retired. Team Nick versus Team Laura. So I've been assigned to Team Nick. So I need to find someone on Team Laura and get that challenge in, which is almost like they're trying to go for like the biggest team match. So over the course of a month. So I might get you can get a few games in. So that might be my challenge for the short term.
Oh, fantastic. And for you, Alison, to be back on a court as well. I mean, just how much everybody seems to have missed their sports is the one thing that came through, whatever your sport was, but to have the opportunity to be back in a form.
Absolutely, yeah. Just going on court and just hit a ball is like amazing. Just that feel, that smell, the sound of hitting that ball. It's just incredible. It's like when people say that to go to sleep they'll need to listen to the waves or dolphins or whatever it is. If I put the sound of a squash ball in my head, that's what relaxes me, and I just love that sound. And I remember that the first time I went back on court back at the end of July, I just stood on court crying, and I was like, can't believe I haven't been here for 5 months. I was literally so overwhelmed by actually being back on a squash court, and even now I feel quite emotional to think actually the feeling we went through. I'm not an athlete like SJ. It's not my profession, but it is my passion still. And I do spend a lot of my spare time either volunteering at events, coaching, playing for the team at the boat club. So it is my life outside of work. So to be back on a court was absolutely incredible, and also just to get back on court coaching and to see the people that I've coached before and their faces. And one of the girls I took on court, she's only a young girl, and she says, my dreams come true of playing squash again. And you know what, when her mum told me that, I just thought, wow, that is fantastic. So just to get that sort of feedback from a child, you're thinking, well, and that's what my that's where I come from. I come from grassroots. I do all the basics. It's a lot when SJ said when she started junior squash, that's where I'm at. I do mostly grassroots coaching, and hopefully, one day somebody that's been on court with me could potentially be as good as SJ in the top 10, top 20, playing for England or whatever country they're from. That would be amazing. But that's not what I'm about. I'm just about getting that participation at the moment, but teaching grassroots squash.
Yeah, and getting people on court and loving the sport. Okay, so
Absolutely.
You were saying that you were getting for World Squash Day, get people to say why they loved it and what it was about the sport that they really, really loved. And I saw one of the notes, Alison. It said, "Alison made me do it." So we're going to do better than that. So Sarah Jane, SJ, what is it about sport that you love so much? The sport of squash.
I think for me, it's that everyone, no matter what that kind of body type you have, then everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and you can build kind of your game around your strengths. And it doesn't sort of, it doesn't require you to be tall. It doesn't require you to be small, and anything like that. So I think it's that's the main one for me. And then the other one is just about the sort of the problem solving and the challenge, coming back to that, and just all the different styles. So I think it's for me it's just the challenge, the challenge, being able to find your strengths and play to them, which I think is a really good transfer into life as well.
Well, listen, we'll have to talk some more, both of you, as we approach the Commonwealth Games. And Sarah Jane, let us know what you're doing with regard to sort of being there and representative of the athletes, and keep us updated with how things are going. And Alison, your love of sport and squash, why is it you love it?
The reason I give when people ask me, I say, it gives me the confidence to be the best version of me, and that genuinely that is, because off court, you worry about stuff, and you think you're not good enough for this job or that job, whatever. You get on court, and I'm not the best player, I'm not the best coach, but I go on court and I know everything I need to know about the game, and I feel very, very confident. It just gives me so much confidence, and I just feel like when I'm on court, that is a genuine me. When I'm off court, I may not be me. I'm trying to be something else or somebody else sometimes, but when I'm on court, that is me. So it gives me the confidence just to be the best version that I can possibly be of myself. And I've always said that the church, that the squash court is my church, and squash is my religion, and I practice it every day, and that's what I swear by.
You two are both inspirational women. It's been a pleasure to spend some time in your company. Thank you very much indeed for coming on, speaking so passionately about your sport, and focusing in on squash. It's been a complete pleasure. Sarah Jane, thank you.
Thanks, Lorna. Thanks very much.
You take care of yourself. Hope to see you again soon. And Alison, thank you as well.
Thank you, Lorna, and great to hear your voice, SJ. You take care. Play well.
See you soon, Alison. Thanks.
Cheers, mate.
Take
Thanks.
care both. Thank you so much.
Guys.